I'm Farai Gwelo from Fanapan, and I'm here to present a small part of a bigger project called the Agriculture to Nutrition Project. We call it ATUNU for short, and we implemented this project in Ethiopia and Tanzania with funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So the small part that I'll speak about today is just on the intervention on the promotion of vegetable gardens, home gardens, for improving dietary diversity of smallholder farming households. So the ATUNU project came about on the backdrop of the persistent challenge of malnutrition that we have that has now mutated to what we now know as the triple burden of malnutrition. And according to the Global Nutrition Report, we know that 2 billion people still lack key micronutrients such as iron and vitamin A. And malnutrition continues to be one of the biggest risk factors for the global burden of disease. But the good news that has us all gathered here is that agriculture has potential to contribute to more positive nutrition outcomes, although we can still use more evidence as to what works when it comes to designing and implementing agricultural projects and programs that will contribute to more positive nutritional outcomes. In that regard, therefore, the ATUNU project was designed to help answer that question of what agriculture can do for nutrition, and the objective of the project was to improve dietary diversity of smallholder farming households by improving production diversity. So the ATUNU project tested a package of nutrition-sensitive interventions that we overlaid on an agricultural project, which was a chicken project. And up on the screen are the nutrition-sensitive interventions that we tested, and they fall within the 3 pathways. So in December of 2016, we conducted a baseline survey in both Ethiopia and Tanzania. And in May of 2018, we conducted the endline survey in both countries. Between baseline and endline, we implemented our interventions and decided to track the progress of implementation, as well as track the uptake of new behaviors by the farmers that we were targeting. So that is how we implemented our interventions. We had social behavior change communication, where we gave them nutrition education. We did group sessions where we engaged men in addition to women of childbearing age. We had home visits that we used to reinforce messages from the group sessions. We had vegetable production practicals where we taught the farmers to plant vegetables and all of that. We also had cookery sessions where we taught them to prepare vegetables for nutrient retention, as well as vegetable preservation practicals as well that we had with these farmers. And the intervention reached 800 farmers, or rather households, in each of the 2 countries. And all of the households that received the intervention were supplied with a variety of vegetable seed to support the home gardening intervention. So we monitored the uptake of that gardening intervention as well as vegetable consumption. So during implementation of our interventions, how we monitored the interventions was we developed a process monitoring tool. This tool allowed us to collect data from these farmers on a monthly basis. So the data that we collected during that time is what I'll present now. And what we found was that as far as uptake of the home garden intervention was concerned in Ethiopia, at baseline, we found that less than 10% of the households had home gardens, but following the intervention, up to 81% of the households have home gardens. In Tanzania, less than 40% of them had home gardens. Following the intervention, up to 80% of the households have home gardens. Looking at consumption, at baseline, less than 20% of the households were consuming vegetables. Following the intervention, up to 75% of the households in Ethiopia are consuming vegetables. In Tanzania, it was 35% consuming vegetables at baseline, and following the intervention, up to 80% of the households consuming vegetables. So we also looked at the association between uptake of vegetable consumption, or rather vegetable production, and consumption. And in both Ethiopia and Tanzania, we found that there was an association between vegetable production and consumption. We're also interested in those households that did not take up the home garden intervention due to several reasons that they cited that ranged from a lack of water, lack of land ownership, lack of time, and many other reasons that they gave for not producing vegetables. We were interested in these as well because during our nutrition education sessions, we encouraged those farmers that could not produce to try and source these vegetables from the market. So looking at this, we find that in Ethiopia, a low 21% of these households were consuming vegetables. In Tanzania, it's slightly better with 66% of the households consuming vegetables. So this points to the importance of own production when it comes to trying to diversify diets of smallholder farming households. It might be worthwhile, therefore, to give smallholder farmers support in terms of knowledge and perhaps input to help them to diversify their production beyond just staples and the normal crops that they've been growing. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.